here's the deal. I read a story not too long ago about a person whose mom was a hospice nurse. So that means that she cared for people that were at the end of their lives. And this is what she said. She said that when somebody gets close to death, their greatest joys and their greatest regrets come into clear focus. And this is what the things they say is their biggest regrets. For many people at the end of their lives, their greatest regret was this, is that it had to do with words that they spoke that hurt the people that they loved. They wish that they could do more than anything else. They wish that they could go back in time and take back those harsh words, those hurtful words, those mean words that they had said to other people. Now in the New Testament, Jesus teaches us that we are held accountable. We're held accountable to all of the things that we say, every word that we are spoken. And Jesus clearly wants us to see that our words matter, church. Every word that we say, it matters. Every word that we speak, every word that we text, hello? Every word that we post, every one of those words matters. And so if it's very important to Jesus, and it's very important to God, so he inspired people to put verses in the Bible that deal specifically about that. So if it's important to God, then church, it's important to us as well. So what we're going to do as a church is we're going to talk about words for these next 2 weeks. And so here's some different things I learned about words when I looked it up in Webster's dictionary, Webster's third new international dictionary. It says that there's over 470,000 words in the dictionary. 470,000 words. I mean, the words, it's our primary way of communication, right? Is using words. You know, but the thing is that we have to learn to use them correctly. You see, we have 470,000 words at our disposal. And some of you go, man, there's more than that because I like to make some up, you know? I like to do that too. I just make all kinds of different words up, right, Pastor Christian? Right? We just make words up. So we've got more than 470,000 words. So we've got more than 470,000 words that are at our disposal at any time. They're free for us to use. But how we use them can cost us dearly. You see, you've heard the old saying, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words may never hurt me. But that's not really true, is it? That's not really true. You see, because there's some things that people have said to me, and maybe possibly there's some things that people have said to you that they've hurt you. They've hurt you. And those words, they don't just bounce off of us. What do? They stick. They stick to us. And they hurt us. And words have impacted our lives in a huge way. And so what I want you to grasp tonight, church, what I want us to grasp is that our words are powerful. Our tongue, it's like a stick of dynamite, okay? It just wants to explode. It's ready to explode. And we all know what happens when dynamite explodes. Things get messy, right? It's a mess to clean up. So if you can do this with, I want everybody, I'm giving you permission tonight. Go ahead and stick your tongues out at me, okay? It's all right, you're allowed, okay? I'm doing it at you, right? Pastor Kate and my worst fears as a pastor just came true, you know, of the congregation sticking their tongue out at me. But that 3-inch muscle, in your mouth, it has so much power, right? That 3-inch muscle has more power than you know, and that can be used for good and it can be used for bad. And so tonight, the title of the message that I'm going to talk about tonight is simply this: don't be a meanie, okay? Don't be a meanie. You see, sometimes we don't realize the power that we have in our mouth. In your mouth, with your tongue, you literally have the power of life and death. Your tongue is powerful. Your tongue is powerful. You see, the tongue, it has the power to physically move people. I mean, think about this. Patrick Henry, on March 23rd, 1775, he said, "Give me liberty or what? Give me death." Abraham Lincoln, the Gettysburg Address in 1863, 7 years ago. Martin Luther King in 1963, I have a, you see, these are all words that many of us know, many of us have studied, many of us had to learn when we were in school, and they've impacted. These words were powerful, and these words moved people, right? So the tongue has the power to physically move people, but the tongue also has the power to bring death. You see, Proverbs 18:21 says this, the tongue has the power of life and death, and those who love it will eat its fruit. You see, the tongue is the only tool. It's the only tool that gets sharper with consistent use. No other tool does it. Other tools get dull the more you use them. Your tongue is the only muscle, the only tool that gets sharper the more you use it. Well, Pastor Tim, how does my tongue, how do the words I say, how do they bring death? Well, I'm gonna give you a few different ways that your tongue can bring death. The first one is this, the tongue can kill people's self-esteem. You see, in Proverbs 15:4, it says, a soothing tongue is a tree of life, but a perverse tongue crushes the spirit. Have you ever heard these words maybe spoken over to you that you'll never amount to anything? You know, whether a teacher, a parent, or a friend tells you you'll never amount to anything, or they've told you you're a failure. You're never going to amount to much. You know, perhaps maybe you're here tonight and you've heard those words spoken over you, and these words have stuck to you and they've hurt you. And maybe it's because of those words that have been spoken to you, they've altered the different decisions that you've had to make in your life. Can I please tell you this tonight, and please hear this. You are a child of God. You are a child of God. You are his son. You are his daughter. He made you. He knows everything about you. His grace is sufficient for you. You are loved, you are forgiven, and you are a new creation, okay? So you are not a failure. You are not a mistake. You are created by an almighty God who loves you and has a great plan in store for you. So we need to be careful with our words. Your tongue can kill people's self-esteem. The other thing the tongue can kill is the tongue can kill people's dreams. You see, Psalm 52:2 says, you who practice deceit, your tongue plots destruction. It's like a sharpened razor. You see, there are some people who use their tongue to plot destruction, plotting to say negative things about people. Well, you know, it says this in Proverbs chapter 25. In Proverbs 25:18, it says, telling lies about others is as harmful as hitting them with an axe. Ouch. It's as harmful as hitting them with an axe, wounding them with a sword, or shooting them with a sharp arrow. That's how powerful and penetrating your words can be. You may know somebody like that. You may know somebody in your life, a coworker, a friend, family member that speaks different things like that. There may be some of you here today that God has placed a dream in your heart. Maybe that dream is about your family, or it's a dream about your finances, or it's a dream about your kids, or a dream about your career, and you just don't think it's going to happen because somebody told you that it can't happen. And God is just sitting back and he says, man, I have a plan for your life. I've called you by name. And he says with his own words, I have plans for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. So trust in God. So your dreams, your tongue, they can kill people's dreams, and it also can kill people's reputations. It can kill people's reputations. The tongue, it can lie, it can gossip, it can backbite, it can slander, even on social media. Social media, some of the things that we are saying on social media, it just blows my mind. You know, because, you know, this might be a little bit of a soapbox, but sometimes it's almost as if we think that since we're sitting behind the screen that we can say whatever we want. We're on the other side of the phone or on the other side of our computer, and so we can say whatever comes from our mind, whatever we want. And the whole time we're forgetting this one important thing. We're forgetting the whole time that the people we're connected to, people that are your church friends and also your non-church friends, are sitting there watching and seeing all of the different things that you are saying. And they're going, whoa, can you believe that this person just said that? You see, some people think that I'm just typing it out, so I'm good. I'm just typing it out, I'm good. No, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. Even though while your thumbs are doing all of the work for you, it's still the same thing. You're still crushing dreams. You're still crushing people's reputations. See, so your tongue can kill these things. You know, another thing that your tongue can kill is this. It can kill relationships. Your tongue can kill relationships. In Proverbs chapter 11, verse 9, it says, with their words, the godless destroy their friends, but knowledge will rescue the righteous. See, I can't help but think of countless marriages that have ended because of the words that have been spoken. Or many parent and child relationships that have been destroyed because of words that have been spoken. Or the number of friendships that have been devastated because of the words that have been spoken. Church, can I just encourage you to don't say something permanently hurtful because you're temporarily upset. See, we have to be careful with the words we say. You see, we get upset, and what do we do when we get upset? We want to say something back, don't we? You know, we were taught this at a young age by the great theologian Pee Wee Herman. You know, when somebody says something, you know, I know you are, but what am I? Right? You know, I know you are, but I can't tell you how many times I used to say that to my brother and sister. You know, I know you are, but what am I? I know you are, but what am I? You know, I know, done with the impersonations. I'm not good at all of those things. But we've learned to say, I know you are, but what am I? But sometimes we say much worse things that are even harsher, things that are worse. You see, Proverbs 15:1 says, a gentle whisper turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. You see, you and I have a choice. Anytime words are spoken and anytime we're in those heated moments when tempers are flying, emotions are high, all of those different kind of things, you and I have a choice to do one or the other in the situation. We can either put water on it or we can pour gas on it. You got one of two things in one hand. One hand's got the gas in it, the other hand's got the water. Which one are you gonna pour onto it? You see, James 3:5, it says that in the same way, your tongue. The tongue, it's a small thing that makes grand speeches, but a tiny spark can set a great forest on fire. You see, sometimes, church, when the emotions are flying, we keep adding logs to the fire. We keep adding logs on top of logs on top of logs, and what may have started off as a spark has now turned into a massive forest fire. So us as Christians, as we live our lives, what do we want to do? Do we want to be people that add fuel to the fire, that keep on adding logs onto the fire? Or are we going to be people that want to put out fires? You see, be careful with your words, because once your words are said, they can only be forgiven. They can't be forgotten. The words that you speak, they can only be forgiven, but not forgotten. They'll still remember them. I remember, when I was a little Timmy, my dad used to tell me about your words, the things you say. They're like a bullet in a gun. Once you pull the trigger, it's gone. You can't get it back. The words are the same way. Once it's out, you can't get them back. So somebody can forgive you. You can go up and say, man, I'm so sorry for the things that I said. But it's still there in people's minds, isn't it? And maybe for you, it's true. Maybe you've forgiven people, but it still sticks. It still hurts. It's still stuck in your mind. And so you may be sitting here tonight, you may be going, man, Pastor Tim, man, I am guilty of some of these things. The different things you said, man, as I'm replaying some of the different things in my life, relationships with coworkers, meetings I've had with people, whatever it may be, Pastor Tim, I can actually put myself in some of those categories where I know that maybe my tongue hasn't quite been what it needed to be, where maybe my tongue has hurt people, or my tongue has done that very thing, where I've lied about somebody, or I've made something up to make myself sound good or better to other people, to try to build myself up. Pastor Tim, I've done some bad things with my tongue. What am I to do with it now? Or maybe you go, Pastor Tim, I don't even want to get to that point. I don't want to get to that point. I don't want my tongue to ruin other people. What do I do to protect myself? What do I do to watch out for myself? Well, here you go. Here's your help for tonight. 3 God keys to controlling your tongue. And the first one is this: get your heart healthy. You see, the first thing in controlling your tongue is we need to get our heart healthy. Well, Pastor Tim, that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. You just got done talking about the tongue. Now you're talking about the heart. That's 2 different parts of the body. I know that. I know it's 2 different parts of the body, but check this out. A mouth problem reveals a heart problem. Okay? You see, our speech reveals the condition of our heart. You see, Jesus even tells us this. He tells us this in Matthew 15. Check this out, Matthew 15. But the things that come out of a person's mouth come from where? They come from the heart. The things that come out of your mouth come out of the heart, and the things that defile them. For out of the heart comes the evil thoughts, murder, adultery, sexual immorality, theft, false testimony, and slander. So out of your heart, whatever is in your heart, it's going to come out of your mouth. Luke 6:45, see, this is how important it is to Jesus. He's teaching people about this. A good man brings good things out of the good that's stored up in his heart. And an evil man brings evil things out of the evil that's stored up in his heart. For the mouth speaks what the heart is full of. You see, there's that saying, garbage in, garbage out, right? A lot of us like to say that about food. Oh, you're eating snack food, garbage in, garbage out kind of thing. No, it's about our words too, right? Garbage in, garbage out. So if you're storing up lust in your heart, it's going to come out of your mouth. If you're storing up pride in your heart, it's going to come out of your mouth. But in the same way, church, if you store up joy, if you store up gratefulness, if you store up thankfulness, if you store up those things in your heart, guess what? Those things are going to come out of your mouth. Joy is going to come out of your mouth. Thankfulness is going to come out of your mouth. You see, the heart is the center of our being, and it determines our outward behavior. Okay? Everything starts in the heart. And the only way to change, church, the only way to change what's coming out of your mouth is to change what's going into your heart. So we need to be careful about what's happening in there. And you and I, we need to take time and we need to examine our hearts. We need to examine our hearts and we need to see what we're putting into it. You see, one way that we progress in sanctification is by learning to guard our mouths. Right? Learning to guard our mouths. We have to carefully consider each word, every word, and tone that comes out of our mouth. You see, I had to use that other thing too, because sometimes we say, well, Pastor Tim, I'm not saying mean words. I'm saying different things, but it may be the tone of which you're saying it. How many parents have had those conversations with your children, right? Listen, I know I hear what you're saying, but do you hear the way it's coming out? There's a tone in which that you're saying it. So we've got to be careful with each word that comes out of our mouth and their tone that's coming out of our mouth. You see, when you and I are saved, God gives us a new heart. He gives us a new heart, and our words should reflect the change that's happening, and our words should give glory to God. Amen? So the second thing is this. The second key to controlling our tongue is this. You and I need to learn to be quiet. Now, I want no spouses tapping the other one on the knee, okay? Unless you need to wake them up, We need to learn to be quiet. You see, the reason why you and I, we may have so much trouble or run into trouble is because sometimes we talk too much. You see, the average person speaks 15 to 20,000 words a day. I think I know some people that have that beat, that teeter that average, quite a bit, but some of it, the average is 15 to 20,000 words a day. Psalms 141 verse 3 says to set a guard over my mouth, Lord, keep watch over the door of my lips. You see, some of us, maybe sometimes we need to put a piece of duct tape over our mouths. And we need to say, God, will you please guard the door of my lips? May they not open. May I learn to be quiet. You see, Proverbs 10:19 says, too much talk leads to sin. Be sensible and keep your mouth shut. Proverbs 21:23 says to watch your tongue and keep your mouth shut, and you will stay out of trouble. You see, we don't need to say everything that we are thinking. We don't need to, every thought that we have does not need to be verbalized. Not every opinion that you have needs to be posted on social media. Not everything needs to be said. You see, there is wisdom in speaking a timely word, absolutely, but there's also wisdom in knowing when not to speak at all. There's wisdom in that. And a wise peacemaker, it means walking away from an argument instead of insisting on being heard. You know, how many people know those people in your lives where it's like, come on, just walk away from this, but you just keep on going because they're insisting that you hear them out. Proverbs 29:11 says this, that fools give full vent to their rage, but the wise bring calm in the end. Church, we need to be wise people so that we can bring calm in the end. Because what happens is really a loose tongue shows your lack of spiritual maturity. And so can I help you with this? In these moments of learning to keep quiet and watching your tongue and learning to be quiet, let me encourage you with this. To before you speak, think. Okay? Before you speak, think. Now, in order to help you remember this, I'm going to give you an acronym. I can't remember the name of this word. 470,000 words, and I can't remember the word that I'm trying to think of right now. It's one of those cool words where you put the word this way and you spell out other things and it makes that word. What is that? Did I say it right? Acrostic. It doesn't matter. I'm going to do this thing for you. I'm going to spell the word down the side and you're going to see it. Okay, so before you speak, think. This is the T, okay? T is this. Is it true? So before you speak, is what you're saying, is it true? H, is it helpful? The different things that's going to come out of your mouth, is it helpful? I, is it inspiring? N, is it necessary? And K, is it kind? So before you speak, okay, the words that you say, the words that need to come out of your mouth in whatever situation that you are facing, before you speak, think about those words. Is it true? Is it helpful? Is it inspiring? Is it necessary? And is it kind? And if your answer is no to any one of those questions, guess what? What should you do? Don't say it. If the answer is no to any one of those questions, don't say it. Well, but Pastor Tim, sometimes I need to confront people and sometimes confrontations that, you know, the words, I'm doing it in a loving way, but it's still gonna hurt people. So should I not say them? No, that's not what that means at all. That doesn't mean that you should never confront people. I mean, there's certainly times when we need to confront people. Jesus himself, he wasn't afraid to confront others. Yes, he wasn't afraid to convert others. But he wasn't afraid to confront others. But in those moments, remember this. Remember that motives matter. In those moments of confrontation, remember that motives matter. If you want to confront someone just to put them in their place, okay? Or if you want to confront someone just to make your voice heard, then church, you're standing on dangerous ground. So just be careful for the motive of which you want to confront somebody. And before you speak, think. And the last thing is this. Before you get into those things, we need to get God's help through prayer. Another way to control our tongue, to be able to watch our words, the different things we say, is we need to get God's help through prayer. Psalms 19:14 says this, may the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart, see, there are those two body parts connected again. May the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be pleasing in your sight, Lord, my rock and my redeemer. You see, this is a great prayer. To pray multiple times a day. Not just once, not when you're waking up in the morning and you're starting your day off, but this is a great prayer to pray multiple times through the day. Before you go into your meeting, God, will you help me to say the right things? Will you help me say the right things? You see, maybe you've got to be praying because maybe you went into that meeting and you're grumpy. You know, maybe you went into that meeting and maybe you're having a bad day. Maybe it's because it's 112 degrees outside for 20 days in a row. And you're over it. You know, you're over it. You're tired of sweating yourself out. You know, you're tired of those things. Or maybe different things have happened at home or whatever it may be. And you've walked into that meeting and you're a little bit grumpy. And if you're feeling a little bit grumpy, then when your name is called in that meeting, what kind of words do you think you might say? Grumpy words. Maybe you'll say things that are grumpy. So you see, more importantly, we need to pray and say, God, will you give me the right words to say? God, as I go through my day, as I go into this meeting, God, will you give me the right words to say? You see, there's gonna be times, church, there's gonna be times when something is right there on the tip of our tongue. It's right there, and we wanna say it. We wanna say it, and maybe you've been there before. You just wanna say it, but you know that I shouldn't say it. I know that I shouldn't say this thing because I know it's not gonna be kind, and I know it's not gonna be helpful. Well, then don't say it. Maybe you need to constantly be walking around saying, God, will you please help me with the words I say? God, may the words I say, may they be true. God, may the words I say, may I not use any foul language. God, may I not put somebody down. God, may the words that I say, may I speak them in love. God, may the words I say, may they inspire each other. May they build other people up and not tear people down. But God, will you help me to use my words for good and not for bad? God, will you help me to use my words to put water on something, to douse out the anger that's going on, instead of adding fuel to the fire, instead of dumping logs onto that fire and making it bigger. God, will you help me with the words that I'm getting ready to say throughout my day? And so, church, tonight, as we close, and as Pastor Cody plays on the piano, I think we need to take a moment tonight. And we need to seriously examine our hearts and ask God to examine our hearts, because if you are guilty of those things, any number of those things, then we need to do a heart check. And so in your seats tonight, a couple of things is this. Pray and say, God, is my heart right? God, am I storing up different things in my heart that I shouldn't be storing up inside of there? God, am I storing different things up that's gonna come out of my mouth in evil and harsh ways? Or God, am I storing up good things inside of my heart? Maybe there's some different things in your heart and in your life that you need to deal with God tonight with. And allow him to clean those out. Allow him to take care of those things for you and help you with those things. Maybe you're here tonight and maybe you fit into those categories where maybe you've had a problem with lying or maybe, cussing, or maybe you have an anger problem or a gossip problem and maybe you need God's help. God, will you help me to watch over my tongue? God, will you help me in those things? The other thing I want to challenge you with tonight is this, is that maybe as you're examining your heart, maybe you're sitting next to somebody, or maybe there's somebody that's in this room that you know that you've already spoken words out of and have hurt another person. And maybe tonight you need to make that right. Maybe tonight you need to find that person out and say, I'm sorry for the things that I said. Will you forgive me? So maybe that's another thing that we need to do. But I also want to encourage you with this. You see, we talked and emphasized a lot on the words that we speak that go out to individuals, that go out to other people, and the way it inflicts on other people and the way it sticks to other people. But may I also take a moment and remind you of this, is that your words also impact your own personal life. Because you see, I believe that there's times too where even our own words can hold us back. You see, maybe somebody has spoken words to you. You're a failure. You'll never amount to anything. And instead of you letting it brush off and go, no, I'm a child of God. No, I'm a son. I'm a daughter. I'm forgiven. All of those different things. Maybe you've allowed it to stick so much that in your own mind, you're telling yourself that. I'm a failure. I'm never going to amount to anything. And you need to change course for the words that you're speaking into your own life. And maybe you've done that tonight, church. And maybe you need to take a few moments and speak that life back into you. Allow God to use his words, his breath to speak that life back into you, to encourage you and to build you back up.